Welcome back to the Sunny Stampin' Studio. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this fun and easy birthday card. Why don't we get started? First thing you're going to need is your chocolate chip cardstock. Now this cardstock piece is 3 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And my greeting, because this is a dark color of cardstock, I want to use a rub-on. So here I have my chat room rub-ons, and this is from the Occasions Mini Catalog. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting the greeting that I would like to use. And as you can see, as I've cut it, I have cut both the transfer sheet and the backing. So what I want to do is very carefully peel off the backing. Now I'm going to make sure that my chocolate chip piece is aligned, and then I'm going to lay the rub-on onto my cardstock piece and then just very carefully adjust it until it looks straight. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm then going to just gently press down on it, and I'm going to take my popsicle stick and I'm going to keep one hand on my rub-on, and I'm just going to hold my popsicle stick on an angle and start rubbing along each of the letters. Like so. Now, once you see it become a little bit opaque, that'll mean that the rub-on has stuck to your cardstock. But still, you want to very carefully lift up the piece of transfer paper. You can see here I'm just using tweezers to do that. And I'm also holding on, because if I notice as I'm pulling that one of the letters has not fully stuck down, I can replace my transfer sheet exactly where it was and then apply a little bit more pressure with my stick. So I'm just now going to press down, and you can see I have my greeting along the bottom of my chocolate chip cardstock. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm now going to grab my Whisper White cardstock that I need to stamp. Now I'm going to put some Dotto adhesive on the back of this cardstock so it doesn't shift as I'm stamping. Now this piece is 2 inches by 3 inches. I'm going to be using my Trendy Trees stamp set, and I based my color selection on the colors in the designer paper that I'm going to be using. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab the trunk. Now there's 2 styles of trunk. You can see this first one that I'm using. I'm going to stamp that close to the bottom. I'm then going to ink up this trunk, and I'm going to stamp that approximately in the center, and then I'm going to take the other trunk once more and stamp that along the edge. So now, in order to stamp my treetops, I'm going to need to Stamp-A-Majig so that I can achieve placement, the proper placement. So I'm going to start with this tree here, and I'm going to use my imaging sheet to align it onto my trunk, and then I'm going to grab the T-tool from my Stamp-A-Majig and align it with the corner of my imaging sheet. And then once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to ink up the top of my tree stamp in Old Olive Classic ink and then stamp. Now for the second tree, I'm going to align that one with my imaging sheet as well. Remove my imaging sheet, and I'm going to ink that tree up in the Taken with Teal Classic ink. Like so. Now for the last tree, I'm actually going to use my markers. So what I want to do is color the leaves in olive and pink. Now when you're working with Stampin' Write markers, you always want to make sure you begin coloring with the lightest color first. So I'm going to zoom in so that you can hopefully see how I'm coloring this. So now that you can see my leaves are colored, I'm just going to zoom out here, and then what you want to do is to grab the stamp and you want to breathe on it. And actually, I also want to prepare my imaging sheet for this one as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and rebreathe on that. And what that does is it moistens or re-moistens the ink in case it dried out as I was stamping the different colors. And there you can see how the image stamped perfectly. So I'm now going to stick this onto a piece of Old Olive cardstock. And the Old Olive cardstock, what I did was I took a strip that was the same width as this, so it's 3 inches wide, and then it was much longer. And I first scalloped one end. I then lay my Whisper White cardstock piece on top with Dotto adhesive, and then I used my paper trimmer to trim that. So that's how it's going to look. Now, I'm just going to detach this for a moment because as an embellishment, what I want to do is to take my 3/4 inch circle punch, and I want to punch a half circle. And now I can then go and reattach that. And then I am going to grab my paper piercing tool and my foam mat. And I want to pierce a hole in the center of this piece. And I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger because I'm going to be inserting one of these. And these are the designer circle brads. And I'm not fastening it down yet because I want to grab a piece of this 5/8 of an inch grosgrain ribbon. And I'm also going to grab a mini glue dot. So I'm going to carefully pick off the mini glue dot with my fingernail, and then I'm going to place it on the ribbon, and then I'm going to fold my ribbon like so, and then trim the end. I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to take another mini glue dot with my fingernail, and I'm going to stick this on the back of that circular piece, and then I'm going to tuck my ribbon in between the edge of the cardstock and my brad, and then stick it down. And then once you've done that, you can go ahead and open up the prongs on the back, and then I will be trimming my ribbon afterwards. So now what you want to do is to grab that chocolate chip piece that you had earlier put the rub on. You're going to put your adhesive on the back. I'm using Dotto at the moment just because I forgot to prep my snail adhesive, which is what I regularly use. And then I'm going to stick this onto the chocolate chip, and then I'm going to then go and stick this onto my card, leaving about a 1/2 inch space on the right hand side. And what I did on the card, you can see I took a piece of designer paper. This is from the Sweet Pea Designer Series stack. This piece is 3 3/4 by 5, matted on textured Old Olive that's 4 by 5 1/4, matted onto a chocolate chip card front that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And that's all there is to it. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's project, and I look forward to stamping with you again.